Hi, I'm Robin. This is Bria. This is the Greenwash of the Week.
We've been looking forward to this one. Hold on to your control rods. Greenwash of the Week is going nuclear.
There's been a lot of buzz lately about how a nuclear renaissance is going to save us from global warming. But guess what? It's greenwash. If the nuclear industry is green, it's because it's glowing in the dark.
Let's set aside for the moment the fact that nuclear power carries with it the risk of meltdown, of terrorist attack, that it's a vector for nuclear proliferation, and that it creates radioactive waste that's going to be toxic for billions of years. That's plenty bad enough to qualify as greenwash. But even if that weren't the case, nuclear power is hardly going to save us from the disastrous effects of climate change.
Why? Because it's just too expensive and impractical. Back in the atomic age, people thought that nuclear energy would be too cheap to meter. Well, construction costs have risen so much in the industry that already energy from new nuclear power plants is more expensive than renewable energy. That's the biggest reason, other than common sense, why no nuclear power has come online in the United States since the 3 Mile Island accident in the 70s.
All this talk of a nuclear renaissance is predicated on government subsidies and loans. Nuclear power is the most heavily subsidized form of power generation. Renewables don't even come close. There is no way that nuclear power could compete if it wasn't for government handouts. The government also guarantees insurance to nuclear power operators, because no private insurer in their right mind would offer insurance to cover nuclear disaster. That means when something goes wrong, the public pays the price.
Proponents of nuclear energy say that alternatives like wind and solar won't work because they're not nuclear. Because they don't provide a consistent stream of power throughout the day. But full-scale trials show that a diverse range of renewable sources spread out in a wide area actually can provide a consistent power supply. And, to top it all off, they won't kill us.
And concentrated solar power, which stores solar energy as heat and then releases it when it's needed, actually can follow demand better than nuclear power, which produces a fixed amount all the time.
Even if we did decide that we wanted a more toxic and expensive way to fight climate change, it would be impossible to build out nuclear capacity fast enough. Nuclear power plants take decades to build, and costs run into the tens of billions of dollars. Also, production bottlenecks on key components means that there's a hard limit on how many new plants can be built in a given amount of time. Even if it weren't toxic and unsafe, there's simply no way that nuclear could ever become a solution for global warming.
Why is the nuclear industry getting so much hype lately? It's because power companies can't wait to get on the gravy train of government loans and subsidies, and because it's another way for established players to line their pockets. Every dime that we spend on nuclear could be better spent on renewable energy that won't blow up, melt down, give us cancer, or poison future generations. And what about all of that toxic radioactive waste? Well, there's still no way that we know to store it for the next 50,000 years.
The best ideas they've come up with so far all boil down to basically burying radioactive waste in a can and hoping it doesn't get out later. I'm sure that my great-great-grandchildren are going to think back and say, yeah, good plan, guys.
And by the way, every single country that's acquired nuclear weapons since the Non-Proliferation Treaty was signed has done so by first acquiring nuclear power. Can we please think of a way to fight global warming that doesn't involve giving uranium to dictators? Uranium extraction, too, is unsafe, environmentally destructive, increasingly difficult, and hella expensive.
And let's not forget, the risk of nuclear meltdown is real. Nuclear containment failure is one of the most severe environmental events possible. It spreads toxic radioactive materials for thousands of miles. We are still feeling the consequences of the Chernobyl meltdown of 1986. So trying to fight global warming with nuclear power is not only dangerous, dirty, and wrong, it just won't work. A build-out of nuclear energy is only going to give us more toxic waste, a bigger risk of disaster, more chance of nuclear weapon proliferation, more cows with wheels, and do nothing to help solve the climate crisis. We should end federal loan guarantees and subsidies for nuclear power and invest in renewable energy instead. It's time we stop letting one of the most environmentally destructive industries in history call itself green.
And that's your Greenwash of the Week.